Welcome, everyone, to Nostradamus, the foretellers of doom and destruction of the oil markets. I'm just kidding. Uh, Not foretellers of doom, but we like to go on over scenarios that we think are probably going to happen. Um, I'm Lord Sean Connery with Mohammed, and we're here to discuss what our viewpoint is on this coming week. Um, right now, currently, what is the chart that we have up right now, Mohammed?
This is a weekly full session chart.
Okay. All right. So, obviously on the weekly chart, we have one time framing down, lower lows, lower highs. And the purple area that's marked the multi-week lower balance is where we're stuck in. And, I think from last week's video, we were talking about how we might spend a little time down here. Um, the possibility of even attacking those lows down in the 50s was a possibility. Um, and of course, with one time framing down, we could get a lower high on the week, and we could definitely seek out a lower low by the end of the week. It's possible, but there are some things that happened Friday that may be contrary to that. So, um, yeah. So, like last week, what we discussed was, if we opened above that the HVN that we had down, that was on the X contract, that we would at least try to attempt to, get through that LVN. And it actually happened picture perfect from that last week. We attempted to get in there and then we just got shut down. We came on back down and we tested like that 58. I think it was the 58s on the X contract, which actually worked out beautifully. That was a really nice thing to happen. I mean, that played picture perfect. Um, God, what else do we have? Like, I mean, look, we have the one-time framing down also on the daily, and nothing looks really too great for buyers, except if you kind of go back to, it looks like the beginning of June, that looked like some decent two-way action. If you move your cursor up to right where, yes, that consolidation there, it looks like we're kind of having some trouble, seeking any lower. Um, So, I mean, we have, a handful of possibilities ahead of us, but the way that we messed around on Friday, we on the full session we explored lower, but we actually closed value and VPOC kind of in line with Thursday's shit show. And Thursday was options expiration. And a lot of weird shit happens in options expiration. One thing to note is if we have a decent move in one direction, sometimes it could be taken all the way back. In this case, it wasn't taken all the way back, but the action in the overnight actually, looked like it sought lower and it said, nope, you know what, we're kind of done. So, just thoughts moving ahead for this week. I think not with some high degree of probability, like I could just calculate it out of my ass, but I really like last week's low at 56.15 on the Z contract. I feel that the selling was spent. The way that we closed against Friday's action, despite being, sorry, the way that we closed against Thursday's action, and despite being Friday, like a low, a lower high and a lower low against that. One of the scenarios that I was thinking is a pullback retest and preserving that 56.15 low, and then a move back to I believe on my chart is around the 58.30s, because there was some decent consolidation there before Thursday headed lower. And again, funny things happen on option expiration. I think that move could be taken back. That is one of my scenarios. And it's not going to take much to shift the time frame neutral, because the full session high as well as the RTH highs at 57.32. And in a few hours, what is it? 3 hours and 8 minutes to be exact at the time of this recording, we're going to have the Sunday Open. And something strong out of the gate with just immediate perhaps an immediate take of the 5732 to shift the intraday time framing neutral, both on the full session and RTH would be to take that high and see what happens. That alone makes me feel that one of two scenarios could happen. We could actually hold the 2 day VPOC that is formed by Thursday and Friday's session, and that was like around like just about 5,700, 5,700 ish, and that powder keg can hold and head higher. We could also get the variant, and we could actually pull back and retest that 5615. Maybe not come like within a few ticks of it, but maybe come in around where the some fighting was going around in the 5630s and hold that higher low and then swing up on back. How far we go, that's really the question. I mean, we could just come up to the 5830s, um, or even as low as 58 and just consolidate there. That's one possibility. We could run on through, maybe start working our way up to even 59s. It's kind of hard to tell where it's going to stop um, once the action starts to unfold. But the primary hypothesis here, or the primary scenario, is either the pullback retest higher low of that 5615, or basically the holding of that 57 area and then start to move higher. The first area that of interest to see if we're going to have trouble is up in the 58s. The RTH previous high of Thursday was 5821. The full session high is 5863. And if either of those are taken out, I think that could be very interesting. If we're going to head to heave even higher from there, that would be very interesting. That is the primary scenario. The secondary scenario um, is the attempt higher first to shut down, to kind of kill the one-time framing down scenario, but we just can't get above 5821 or even that 5863. That action that happened in the on Thursday's options expiration. If we grind on up with some weak buying, more responsive buying from the lows, and then just comes in, finds no solid interest by buyers to send this higher, that could possibly lead to new lows for the week and exploration. We have some gaps below us. We could hit 55s. We could actually probably hit let's see, maybe as low as I mean, we've got some singles from May 8th down in 54. Yeah, there's a lot of repair that still is open for us. So it just really depends on how far this thing might go down to clean up some shit. But I feel that the primary hypothesis is stronger than the secondary, just from some of the action that I saw on Friday. But that's just me. And Friday was also we had a really dismal balance day. Um, but we closed at the highs of that balance day, and it looked like every attempt higher was going to get shut down, but there were no new attempts lower. Like any attempt lower just kept getting scooped up. The deltas were decent on the day. A lot of small deltas were buying. Very large actually stepped in from uh, to came in that for a pretty big change. I think the lowest of the very large delta was around negative 900, and we kind of closed that up to negative 455. So some larger time frame participants buying on the offer to close that readout. That was that caught my eye. So I had a feeling that maybe we could be seeing some larger participants take positions to see if this is gonna stop the onslaught to the downside. What are your thoughts?
I agree. I agree with pretty much the analysis that of how Friday shaped up. It's likely to go to the upside. So a few things that I noticed, even kind of beyond this TPO chart, is just something on the daily. So first thing that we have on the daily is obviously this thing has been time framing down, but what we have really towards the lows is we have this sudden volume spike. Now, it was roll, so I'm not really sure how much of this volume spike we should really trust. But usually at the end of a an extension move like this, what tends to happen is we'll see this volume spike, and we kind of have that over here. So all this volume is relatively, relatively around this range. This one obviously is just a little bit more. So that's the first thing that caught my attention, that Friday's action may show signs of a reversal. And then also going on the TPO chart. So on the TPO chart, just like you said, in the overnight session, the market pretty much had explored lower, and we continued to move lower up until there was like a sudden shift. So once we found our buyers, I mean, it was just time framing up, and it was able to extend the overnight high. Now from here, it didn't continue higher in the RTH. Mainly what we did is we just created balance and very thin below, like a that's tapered off on the profile and just kind of created a P-shaped profile. So to me, this looks like we were able to find buyers over here and we accepted. And even on Friday's RTH session, I remember I was telling Rob, because Rob was like shorting and I was long, so it was like two different ideas. But I was telling Rob, we can't get back below Thursday's low. Every attempt, it just kept accepting higher. So to me, that caught my interest, that maybe what we saw on Friday was a possible low and we may see some reversion. So for me, what my scenarios are pretty much the same exact thing. I do like how we do have the overlapping TPO point of control over here. So what my plan is, what my scenario is, the primary is, if we can get any pullback lower, whether that's to where that shift happened, where those buyers stepped in, or it's simply just a pullback to the VPOC, to Friday's VPOC, and we were able to hold Friday's low, which is also prior weekly low. Any pullback that's able to hold those reference points, I'm pretty much going to be looking for a long to go higher. One, back to this overlapping point of controls, this TPO point of control, which is around 58.20s, 58.30s. If we're able to push past that, then I mean, we have this MC point of control, which I don't know if we'll tag it. That'll be a pretty substantial move going from 57.15s all the way up to 62.50s. That's pretty much wiping out what we've done over the last few sessions. So that'll be a pretty substantial move. But overall, I do like Friday's low for a slight or a retracement higher. Now, if that retracement runs to 62.50s, great. Like, the better. But if it doesn't, obviously we still have this low volume node. And what it could do is it could, pull back lower, find its buyers, move higher, but then it could just start to balance out on this distribution. And that's something that me and Rob talked about, I believe, two videos ago, where we said we're not just expecting it to run from one balance to another balance. It may sort of chill around here for a little bit. So if it found its buyers, it wants to check higher, it could ultimately just now want to trade sideways. So that's my primary scenario. The secondary, I feel like the secondary shows a little bit better on the weekly chart. The secondary scenario is just pretty much watching all the volume that traded over here, which, let me just change this color, which would pretty much be, it can check higher, it struggles around this high volume node, and then we start to see it really start to move lower, because ultimately it's still time framing down on the weekly, it's time framing down on the daily, but that may shift. And another thing that we have on the weekly is sort of a multi distribution, you can say. So it's in an active price discovery to the downside. What I want to see is that active price discovery going to hold, or did Friday's action sort of just shut that off and then we start to see the reversion higher? So very similar to what you're seeing. Like I agree with with pretty much how Friday was. I think the way Friday auctioned and how that low was formed, along with the volume spike on the daily chart, I think there's a lot of clues over here that this low does look pretty interesting for it to possibly hold and a reversion higher.
It's funny when you mentioned about how you were long and I was short on Friday. I was short. Uh, it didn't look like Friday was going to be some fantastic run up because we had Thursday's actions to get through, but there was such light buying at the highs and there was really good outside in plays. So I really wanted the short to go down and retest where you wanted to see the retest. I wanted to see that retest to get another clue going into this week. That would have been nice, but we just never got it. And so it's funny because the buyers are coming in and holding Thursday's low. Nothing was going to the upside, maybe because that was a Friday. But then at the same time, sellers weren't really able to get new ground. So yeah, like Friday left us. Friday was I think it was probably frustrating for some, but for others, it was, including me, it was pretty easy to fade the highs just by looking at some of the order flow. But I also, I was hungry to see that test down to like 56.50 or even down to 56.40. It just wasn't happening. And then at the same time, like seeing we'd form a low at 56.71, and we'd come in and we'd still like skate these higher lows, and it closed at the highs of the session. That was just more subtle information that likely the low is in. And it's not like 56.15 is some crazy selling buying tail with some bunch of sellers at the into the EU session just like completely losing their fucking nuts and like selling into the lows, like trying to run for the hills, like screaming mommy with their dicks in their hand. No, they didn't. Like that didn't happen. But yeah, just there's a little more subtle, compelling evidence that I feel is that low is there. I like to see. This is for my wish list for the week. If we could pull in not during the fucking European session where I'm trying to sleep so I don't have to pull a goddamn all-nighter. If we could somehow maybe get this in the session for the first few hours after the Sunday PM open, a retest of that 56, 40, 50, 60 area, even down to the 30s, and see some sort of interesting firm, like especially like right off near the Asia session, I would take a position there. And then I would want to see how it might migrate up. Or if that doesn't happen, maybe it can happen in the RTH where that there's some more participation by more players, and to see that is my wish list. I'm hoping that we can get there. I can't place my will on the market and say, oh, this will happen, and when it does happen, it's going to do this. No, I'm very interested to see how that retest happens if we get it. For all I know, we could actually pull in and hold 57, and that's even better. Although that's not like the super deluxe, pullback, like as close to the last week's low as possible. I like to play as close to those, last week lows or highs, if you're going to do some sort of fading game. But, you have to play the cards that you're dealt with. So, yeah, we'll see. Yeah.
Ask you this, I mean, so for me, I don't mind if it just holds VPOC. Like if it tests down here, I don't think that invalidates the long. I think that that's just like you said, that's just going to be like a much better long. But
Mhm.
if it can hold VPOC, it's really holding all this volume that we have up here. So, I
Yeah.
mean, do you uh would you still be interested even if it like doesn't come down here? Like if it just can hold
Yeah.
that
Oh,
VPOC?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm mainly interested in it coming down to 56.30 because I want a better price. That's it.
Yeah, okay.
Um, I want a better price because I want to skate as close to the edge as possible. And then I want to see from that entry if I could get risk off and it could run back through 57 and start to take out 57.32 even before Monday's RTH session opens. Then that makes me feel really good because, again, these are weekly trades. If we can get as close to areas that we feel are going to be the turning points, damn, we want to take as much of this fucking trade as possible to further targets. And I like it if we can, get as close as we can to like a sketchy turning point. If somebody's going to see this market open and start to attack those lows, they're probably wondering, oh shit, everything's one time framing down, the weekly, the daily. Oh, let's like short the piss out of the lows and get new lows. And if that doesn't happen, I don't know, maybe somebody gets caught.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I like to. I don't want to say I like to play dangerous. I like to play a little unorthodox. You know, I, it's funny is that our primary and our secondary scenario should probably be switched. Our primary should be um, like the maintaining of one time framing down weekly, daily, because that's the objective information. But we're not doing that because maybe everyone else is doing that, and I don't want to be with everyone else with the same fucking decision. Like if everyone's going right, you might as well go ahead and see if you could go left and be the first one.
yeah,
I'm more of an innovative trader. I take a lot of trades that are not aligned with the story, but also end up going along with a different change of the story. That is just my style, and I like that. I'm willing to go ahead and fine tune entry points, get risk off, and see how the story unfolds because I like to be the first one into the fold. Um,
agree. And
yeah,
then
I mean it's
I'm
kind of like I don't know if I should use this analogy, but if there's a chick in a gangbang, you want to be the first one up. Like you don't want to be the last one. Like shit, dude, you don't even know what she's taking. So yeah, that's just me. By the time you're last, if you're last of the trade, like going for new highs, you're gonna get like what 10, 20, 30 ticks with
yeah,
how much risk? Yeah. It's a
exactly.
crude analogy, but it's a funny analogy.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And then also, I mean, us like looking at the nuance is sort of what's giving us that reason to go left while everyone is going right. It's just like these little nuanced details that we're kind of picking up across different time frames, and if it works, obviously that nuance would pay heavily. As if we're waiting for the confirmation, we're waiting until it reaches, I don't know, we're waiting until time frame shifts or whatever, and by that time, maybe most of the trade is gone and you're
Yeah.
just getting a worse price.
Yeah, like most of the meat of the trade is gone. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with somebody waiting to take along if like they're above the open or they're above time framing or they have all this confirmation. But it's kind of like the Heisenberg uncertainty principle. You instead of you have the position and the momentum of an electron in trading, you have information risk and price risk. And I would much rather get a better price seeing what the information is laid out in the beginning and then seeing if the information can unfold. And so if I'm getting less information risk as I've already taken a position on because information is now going my way, again, I'd much rather take tighter price risk. um, Especially with some of the nuances that again both you and I pick up in the market. That to me is that's the most logical thing. I do not like to take big price risks,
Yeah.
because by the time the information's out there, it's kind of done. Like oh shit, you know what? I think this is already done. You have people like shorting like 8 periods of time framing down, going for new lows, and I don't know. Just that shit makes me cringe. Like sure, okay, that's great and all that, but what happens if you're wrong? Like you're gonna take all this. You're gonna try to short for new lows, and then you get fucked. I don't know, again, that's just me. And then in terms of math, geometric probabilities, since we have three odd weeks of time framing down and how many days of time framing down, eventually this fucker's going to turn. Now, I'm not just saying, oh, I'm going to buy the lows because I think it's because oh, I have a feeling. No, it's more of after seeing the evidence that happened on Friday, I could probably say with good confidence that if we could get a pullback, I'm willing to take that risk to buy against that 56.15 low and then see if we go into a time frame shift to neutral. And if that happens, what might happen? I mean, we might get some short covering. We might see a really good quick move to the upside to start testing up to 58s. And already, I'd have a position at a really good spot, being able to allow risk off, get some of my weekly trade off, and then I'm set for the rest of the week. I could go fuck off. I could jerk off, watch Star Trek. I could go to the gym for 2 hours a day, and then let my trade work. I don't want to be sitting here every fucking day trying to pick up ticks. That's,
Yeah.
yeah, so for anybody who knows us over at Convergent Trading, Mohammed and I, we do the weekly trade, and we like to be patient. We like to, hide in the bushes as like a sniper, and you pick off these trades to where we're not at the fucking keyboard. We're not at the screens burning our eyeballs out every fucking day trying to guess what the fucking market's doing, trying to guess what this bipolar chick is going to be doing when you bring her out to Applebee's, and either A, she wants to blow you in the backseat of her car, or B, she wants to run up a bill and leave you. Shit, man. Like, no, that doesn't interest us at all. It's also draining, like if we both know that by the end of the week, if we're taking intraday stabs for stuff because we've already done our weekly trade, shit, if our weekly trade worked, we could just go fuck off. But through the end of the week, it could get tiring to the point where we start doing stupid things and not making great trades. A lot of this is emotionally draining. There's mental capital that needs to be preserved. We can't always rely on the weekends to try to catch back up and be rejuvenated. We want to make sure that we come in fresh all the time. So yeah, that's another reason why we don't like to look at tons of daily scenarios. We want an overall bigger weekly picture view, and then if we could catch it, awesome. If not, if we're forced to play intraday, that's not a big deal. It's still something that we do, aligning with our weekly play. So yeah, these videos are for the bigger picture, and then we take one day at a time. And if the days like Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday like confirm our play, that's great. Maybe we'll take some ads. If they don't confirm, well, fuck. Okay, then we're gonna be left to our own devices of, all right, we're gonna have to go ahead and get cheeky with some intraday trades just to scoop up, something on the week. So
Yeah.
but
Agree.
if you've been watching our videos, if you've seen the last few videos that we've done for the weeks, they have been spot on for what we thought the market would do with good objective evidence, not objection, but objective evidence. We've taken some pretty solid trades and have done really well. And that's the way that we want to do it. Now, is everybody every week going to be like that? I certainly fucking hope so, because that's great. But will it be? No. We know that there's going to be some weeks that, some weeks are just going to be fucking shitbirds. They're not going to comply with what we thought would happen. And for all we know, there might be some news that might drive something that could totally put a curveball in. So now, do I think that we're going to just bust through that 60 LVN and get to 63 or 62.50? Fuck no. That'd be cool if we caught along and it did that. That would be a blessing if we caught some sort of news that drove us right through there if we're long from, 56s. Holy shit. Would I hope for that? Fuck yeah. Do I think that's going to happen? Probably not. Again, if we get this higher low off of 56.15, I honestly think that we're going to stall at 60 again. Maybe we, kind of, poke in above just to, see like, oh, can we do it? And then we're probably going to get smacked down like a whack-a-mole, so that's also possible as well.
Agree. Let me just also clear up that this is not trading advice. We're just doing this for educational purposes. The derivatives trading is not suitable for all investors. Uh,
Past performance is not indicative of future results.
yep.
Yes, this video is for educational purposes only. Do not take our advice and trade off of it. Do your own fucking research. Um, look into your own crystal ball or whatever gods of trading that you talk to figure out whether you're long or short. Again, maybe if you pick up something and learn something from our objective analysis, awesome. But do not use our analysis to just say, "Hey, I'm gonna go fucking long like these guys. 56.30s, 100 contracts. Oh fuck, new lows. I got fucked." No, yeah. If you do that, that's on you. So. So
Exactly.
yeah, this is for educational purposes only. This is not trading advice.
Yep. All right. I mean, that's pretty much all I had to cover. Uh, I mean, do you have anything else, or should I just wrap it up here?
You could probably wrap it up. I don't see anything. I don't see anything else to cover. Maybe in the future, and this is just a teaser. Mohammed and I will be looking at a bigger weekly view of gold. the ES, Bitcoin, some other things that may interest us. Although indices are a little different, um, and gold is just fucking running.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy. Maybe like the analysis is buy the dip because it's just going to keep going higher.
That's
Um,
that's all you have to do for
yeah,
gold. Just buy the
yeah.
open and and sell it at the close.
Disclaimer, that is not a trade recommendation, but it sure seems like that's what everybody and their fucking bald-headed granny is doing.
Yeah,
We might cover some more markets, but again, like our strong suit here is crude oil. So
yeah,
for now
exactly.
on, we're going to continue that. Maybe we'll throw in a little bonus extras. So I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, that's all I really have to say for this video.
All right, sounds good. Take care, everybody. We'll catch you for next week's video.
Cool. All right. Take care, guys.